We are live. Welcome back to Let's Talk About Web3. We're in season 3, episode
Let's
2 with our
go.
guest, Maceo. I got my co-host here, Onaji B. I
Yes,
hope you're
sir.
doing well. As we always start off, we like to start off with a little bit of gratitude. This week, I am grateful for the opportunity to share what we're building. I feel like this week already, it's Wednesday, has been an amazing opportunity so far for 3 or 4 different unique communities that I'm not normally a part of, for us to share shared something or other that was new this week. So I'm just grateful for that opportunity. It's already been a really cool week. B, what are you grateful for this week?
Honestly, I'm grateful this week. I'm grateful for right now for tech, man. Not gonna lie, like the ability to connect with homies, like in this room right now, like it's understated. And I did a stream earlier today, and I was outdoor, sunny LA, chilling, vibing on Wi-Fi. Streaming, clear cameras. Like, I'm really grateful for tech. Like, sometimes people will be like, it's a crutch. Humans are falling out of you know their personal communication and things like that. It's like, no, a lot of homies out here are utilizing it to connect with each other digitally, globally. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really thankful for that. It's a really cool time. But maybe I'm just an old head. I'm an old head, and I remember a time without the internet type vibes.
hmm
We was outside playing. So I'm really grateful for tech. What about you, Marcel? What's good? What you grateful for, man?
I would say I'm grateful for community today. I had a fantastic meeting earlier today with my mentor for a couple hours. I got to educate about blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum this morning on the Nassau Africa community. I've only educated maybe once or twice on this kind of stuff, so it was pretty dope to get that experience. I got somebody reached out to me about a job supporting on like a startup working in the law space just out of the blue yesterday, and I'm just seeing myself growing and developing in whole new ways because people are showing up and extending opportunities just like this, right, to come and speak. So
Sick.
I'm grateful for community today.
Hell yeah. Well, I like that. Let's get started. We see Freeze in the building. Shout out to you, Freeze. I had a little stream earlier today with Freeze where we did a little card ripping. I did some digital card ripping. He did some physical card ripping. It was pretty cool. He ripped actually a $200 card, so that was pretty sick. 10x technically on a $20 pack. So in crypto terms.
What
Uh,
kind of
but
cards?
the Pokemon cards is what he was opening, and I was opening up Pokemon and football PSA graded cards with the new beta power packs thing that's going on with
Sick.
collectibles that I'm excited about. But enough of that. I'm excited to get to chatting with you, Maceo. My first question, as always with most people, how'd you get into blockchain? Like, what got you to this space here today to start even thinking about WeThemMedia?
Yeah, that's a good question. How did I get into blockchain? Um, I would say I got into blockchain in college. My college roommate, he was trading NFT PFPs, and he like was on the white list for some projects like Doodles actually, and he was up like 60K, and I was
Oof.
like, dang, how do I like where am I at? Like where like what do I got to do to play in this league? So just jumping on his bandwagon, asking questions. He got me into some DAOs, helped me get an ENS domain ahead of that airdrop. That airdrop kind of was like my green light, like I'm here to play. Gave me some house money, and that's kind of what kicked me off.
Nice.
Excellent.
hmm
That's a good onboarding. It's like you see, those collections, the doodles going crazy. That's cool, man. I was on the outside of doodles. I'm a huge fan of burnt toast, like pre Web3,
hmm
on the IG side, and like just to see artists kind of tackle this space and hop into it and utilize the tech, man. And I don't know how much you've been tapped in with his journey, but he's diving into like the AI side too and just embracing it. One of those can beat it, join it type vibes, and he's diving heavily in, which is really cool. So
And Burnt Toast is the artist behind Doodles.
yes,
Oh, word. Yeah, I didn't even know that. Like,
yeah, he is. He's a super cool guy. Super talented. Yeah, I've been following him for a long time since like I want to say like 2012, 13. Like it's been a
ooh,
minute. Yeah, he's super talented.
that's pretty dope. Yeah, I didn't know that. What about you two? How'd you two end up in this space?
Go ahead, Z.
Ooh, GameStop for me.
Oh yeah.
Jan 21, Jan 28th, 2021, buy button stopped. Learn more about the financial system and how that's probably, pausing the game, changing the rules and then unpausing it for, us poors.
Mm,
And that was an interesting moment for me in learning more about debanking and slowly over time learning about why it matters. I've been working with a musician, so it's kind of like perfectly hand in hand with helping fix the music industry as well. So it's kind of like perfect for the financial and the musical industry, and that's kind of why I came here. What about
love
you,
it.
B?
Man, I've been, I'm a I'm a OG. I should be rich a million times over. Got all the homies on the yacht with me, but I'm one of those kids kicking myself. I found out about Satoshi white paper back in oh 08. We're coming up to the anniversary Halloween.
Really?
Yeah, 2008 Halloween.
It
I
hadn't
found
even
out about.
launched yet.
Correct.
Wow.
So yeah, man. But everything happens for a reason. Hindsight's always 2020. But yeah, I talked about that story quite a bit. Gizmodo, Life Hacker. I don't know if you guys know like the Gawker blogs and stuff like that.
Mm.
I found out about this tech back then, way back then. Yeah, before the buying stuff, it was like I'm trying to convince me and my homies, family to get into mining. I remember researching graphics cards during that first shortage and all that good stuff to try to build some rigs, whatever. I was trying to learn all of it. Didn't really get in, but then heavily, I was just watching from the outside, watching the peaks, valleys, and all that good stuff. And then once, 2015, 16, 17, I started to see a bunch of the artists like Burnt Toast start dabbling in the space, talk about Web3, talk about NFTs. And I was like, wait a minute. Now we're pairing art to this blockchain that I saw so long ago. And I was like, okay, I'm in because I got a heavy graphic design background. I'm like, cool. So like 19, 20, 21, I'm looking for communities, trying to vibe, didn't see anything that I rock with. So, 22 or, summer 21, brainstorming. I'm like, cool, just to build our own table, build our own collection. The apes were going crazy. I'm like, that ain't really for me. So built Onaji the OG, launched that January 22. Rest is history, man. Onaji University kind of came about February because a bunch of the homies were like, we love what you're doing. We love the art. We love the artists. We love Prime. We love all that good stuff. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're talking Ethereum, MetaMask, wallets, all this good stuff, gas fees, Gwei. Like, bro, what?
Yeah.
So we pivoted into the education side, February 22. Did our own Naji U Saturdays, getting those chats going. The rest was history, man.
Hmm. Very dope. Very dope.
Yes, sir.
Well,
So
so from
good looking
that,
out.
I was gonna say from that initial point, Maceo, then what is that journey from, entering the blockchain space to thinking, okay, I need to build We Them Media. What prompted that, and how'd you get to that point?
So I had a podcast I was already thinking about for like maybe a couple months before I got into crypto, right? We them niggas. I wanted to start this podcast. I wanted to somehow create value for black people and black culture and just like have more conversations around this like super provocative language, which I felt was very resonant with me and some of my friends at the time.
There you
And
go.
I feel like I came out of black spaces in high school, really like predominantly black space, and I feel like people use that word all the time. And I felt like I went into this predominantly white college, and I almost found myself censoring myself. But I felt like, how do I navigate, what I'm learning about my own identity? And so I feel like as I got into crypto, I already had this idea of this podcast, and I didn't really see much content about crypto. Like I got this airdrop. Now what? Like I don't know anything. I'm like looking up crypto projects on YouTube. I see Ponzi schemes, like Olympus DAO. Like I'm like, what do I do with an Olympus DAO? Right? I just see like I feel like the content that I'm seeing on YouTube isn't very substantial outside like whiteboard crypto. And I definitely didn't really see any black people making content that was informative. And so myself already wanted to work in the music industry. I'm a rapper as well. I was kind of curious what could it look like to explore that intersection, right, of music and Web3 as like a place I knew I had a real interest. And so honestly, over the next couple of months, I was researching protocols, audience, platforms. And by the end of my school year, I found water and music. I was in like my philosophy classes, researching music, crypto every day, like just trying to figure out like what can my career look like because grad school for philosophy didn't make a lot of sense. And I didn't find like a job in crypto. What I found was Water and Music, this music and tech research organization, which had gone through what is it called? Seed Club to become a DAO. At the time, Seed Club was a DAO like accelerator. And I was like, okay, so I found this music tech community where I could get paid to contribute, is what they told me. And so I paid like $80 or something like that to get a year membership. And I jumped in there and asked immediately, how can I contribute? Like, what can I be doing to get paid? And they were interviewing people collecting music NFTs. And I was like, okay, dope. So I was immediately put right in the middle of the meta. Like people are buying these things. I don't know why, but I get to find out. So I got to interview people collecting NFTs. which was super dope. I got to really hear what they liked and didn't like about that user experience. And that was just super informative to me. And I just kind of noticed over the time I was doing that, that it was a dying meta at the same time. And so while I learned a lot about how that bubble was working and popping, I also was kind of having to reimagine what I'm even doing here now, because I learned that the thing I think I want to do is not necessarily feasible. And then I was fortunate enough to kind of pivot into just trying to interview Black people in general in crypto. And
Heck yeah.
somebody who I learned through that community, right, CY Lee, was like a major patron of the arts in the crypto space. And so he and I kind of got connected soon after that. He reached out, posted on Twitter looking for somebody to interview, an artist he worked with, that I didn't actually end up interviewing, frankly. But, from there, we just got to have, more of a relationship, continue to discuss. And, by FWB Fest, I met him there in person. I was sharing with the community what I wanted to do with my podcast, really with WeThemMedia at large. Think about how could crypto be a way for us to build a new kind of like organizational structure for creatives. Like, how can a DAO be the new music label? Like, how can we create something that helps more of the value artists are generating go to artists, so they can do more community oriented work, and also give them the resources to have a team that they can actually work with, that's not inside of a system that is designed to exploit you, right? Music professionals don't really have anywhere to work
Mm,
like the major music groups if they want benefits and a quality life right
talk
now. And
about
so
it.
what could that look like was a big question I was interested in. And I feel like I got funding for a podcast and just kind of ran with it and didn't really reevaluate what my actual goals were inside of that time, because I felt a little bit like scared I was going to lose my funding if I was a little too honest about how overwhelmed I was about, I was looking for a job in crypto, and now I have a crypto podcast, and like I almost don't even know necessarily where to go with it, or like how to build out a team around it, because it wasn't necessarily long term to be a crypto podcaster when I started, but more so to delve into that intersection of music and crypto. And it didn't really seem like an easy thing to really sell creatives at the time. Like, it's like, actually, what do you do as a creative here? It's like, I don't know what to tell anybody. And so it just became a journey of me interviewing Black people in crypto and learning about their journeys, traveling to different conferences from ETH Denver to ETHCC to DevCon last year in Thailand, and just getting to really learn about how this technology is impacting, economies around the world, learn about inflation. I've now spent a couple months in Nigeria, a month in Kenya, just really getting to see how this technology is taking shape in different kind of markets around the globe. And now here I am, trying to look at how do I bring that information to bear on North America, and how do I leverage my experience now to tell people I know what I'm talking about, and you should know, what's going on, and be hedging against inflation. Like, no shoulds, right? But there's an opportunity to hedge against inflation, by dollar cost averaging into these technologies and opportunities.
Bro, I love all of that, man. That's what I'm talking about. Free said, what's his pod? So we'll get you the information. We'll tell the people where to find you at the end. Heck yeah, man. Like, we need more of that, Maceo. We need more of that, bro. It's like, and when I was in the beginning, hunting, looking, and deciding to build my own table, like, I was looking for the homies like you. So it's good to see you here. It's good to see you and other people like Zal just hitting the ground running, bro. I didn't know you were tapped into CY Lee like that. I didn't know. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's lit, bro. So yeah, everybody's just, the networks are spider webbing, connecting together, growing. You're tackling it on a global side. In the IRL side, you flying out to the motherland and all the good stuff, and man, keep going, bro. Like, so kudos to you. I'm super proud, super inspired by your journey, bro. Keep killing it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Heck
that.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's honestly dope hearing more about you. Like right here. Yeah, dude. I love hearing what people saw before in 2021 when I have conversations with folks, and it's really interesting to see why different people believe there were challenges in the space at that time, right? Because I didn't get a firsthand experience of it. I'm only a third party observer. I couldn't have gotten one, but every time I get another experience, it's different, but has like everyone's taken a lesson from it. And I think that's one of the really cool things about hearing from folks in this space is a lot of people aren't afraid to share the information that would have helped them in the past to
Mm,
the next generation of folks. And I think that's a little bit of different culture than some of society today, where it's a pull the ladder up culture, like where like, oh man, like I got challenged by this, so you should also do it, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I'm curious, like some of your thoughts on that, and then like just tapping in a little bit more with culture. And like I know we had a little bit of a conversation in the last couple of days about, I went to a wedding this weekend, and just for me learning a little bit more about my culture, um, and just diving into that, it's always a blessing to hear when people are excited to share other cultures, especially some of these cultures that don't have a lot of internet access. So like we just don't know about them, right? Like people don't
Mhm.
know about all of these like groups of people that just like haven't tapped into this like greater economy that we are a part of, but they have their own local groups and their own customs and their own different, ideals and traditions. But yeah.
So your question then is really around like how I see like paying knowledge forward and like the
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, exactly.
um I, can you restate your question? 'Cause
Yeah, yeah, no, you're good.
I
I
feel like
more
you're
just mean in terms
multifaceted,
of
right?
just like in learning more about culture.
Mhm.
Like we've had that conversation the last week. I would love to dive in more about like that part of your ethos.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were asking me about like my thoughts on
Yeah, no,
knowledge.
I was just saying that in general. That's a
Okay.
part of these cultures, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I studied psychology and philosophy in undergrad, and a big thing for me was I was in the world of studying perception specifically, right, and how we perceive each other, right. I discussed going from like this predominantly black environment to this predominantly white environment, and you hear me talk, I spent a lot of time in predominantly white environments, the majority of my life, right. And so starting to think about how we conceptualize and conceive of difference, and then even right how we proceed to construe it in our minds over time, became a really big question for me, right? And studying things like intersectional like identity and thinking about like I'm a straight man, I'm a straight black man from a low income background. All these different identities impact the way I navigate, experience, and perceive the world, right? And even the kinds of conversations that are normative, right, in my culture, assuming I hang out with people that are like me. Then you go into the fact that I've been in these predominantly white academic environments, and then they have a whole new component and dynamic that I'm just accustomed to, right? And so for me, a big question is how do people see the world given the body like the body they occupy and also the communities they occupy and then the larger societies they occupy, right? And what things are normative inside of each of those demographics. And so I've become really interested in conversations for culture that kind of respect or recognize culture as a product of having to navigate those interconnecting realities,
Hmm.
right? And so I become really interested in what are people's backgrounds, because their backgrounds give wake to how they perceive the world they have to navigate, the historical world they've had to navigate, right? Your parents are navigating just another iteration of the same body that you're navigating to some degree, but likely in a different temporal context, which is another thing to recognize. And so for me, the conversation for identity is really like it kind of ties back even to this notion of we them niggas. Like for me, we them niggas is like a conversation about the black identity, but my black identity is not like B's black identity is not Black Dave's black identity is not Girl Crash or Leo Pastel or my mom or my dad or my grandma even. It's like a plethora of different kinds of black identities. Jamie Cornelia, Iman Europe, right? Latasha, like we're all navigating this space, but likely from very different lived realities, and different levels of privilege in different ways. And so, how does that impact the way that we navigate spaces, the way that we perceive and understand spaces, and even the way that people perceive me, right? Like me being a college educated like black man from like a like who's been in a lot of white environments. I speak the way I speak, which affords me a certain level of privilege. And so for me, it's like inside of all of that, there still is, code switching. And so there's things I leave behind when I enter certain rooms that are not things I necessarily like to leave behind or that I actually didn't start out leaving behind. But when I found myself in black spaces, I found new modes of expression. And so I'm always curious, like, what are the modes of expression people I'm meeting leave behind in order to navigate the what is most often predominantly white culture that we're participating in?
Mm, bars.
Damn, that was deep. Fuck. I have to think about that more. I love that.
That was a lot of
Everything
words,
you said.
though.
No, no, it was a lot of words, but it was everything you were saying was super on the money, and I really am interested more in those things. But it was cool for me to hear from my perspective, a little bit about how that is for you. And you're talking about your black culture, but the same thing applies to every single other individual for whatever they are.
Exactly, right.
So that's really cool to see, and like it's different with I mean, like my cultural background and heritage, there's only like 100,000 of us in the world, so it's
Hmm.
like a significant, even more minority. Where it's like most people, out of all of the people I've ever told the name of my religion, I could count on like two or three hands of people that separately had heard of it, right? So it's definitely interesting to hear different perspectives on different cultures as well, and understanding that just because one culture is from one thing, the different things and perceptions and privileges that that person has makes that experience a completely different thing.
And so I'm curious, like given my interest in that domain, like what are the things that people frequently don't know or don't anticipate, right, about your religion and culture, like or like things that maybe people don't even necessarily want to talk about, right, because of how it might be perceived, right? If that makes
Yeah, no,
sense.
I
Let me
mean, it's an amazing point because like I just realized today on the GM Farcaster pod, they said you're probably one of the first people that's ever been onboarded through a religion. And I
Mm.
was like, "Oh shit."
yeah,
Like that's kind of cool. I didn't really think about it that way, but like that is a part of my identity. It's something that I would like to talk about more, but I'm not like, because religion is such an interesting topic and hot topic, I don't try and like push it, right? Like if asked, of course, I'm very excited to talk about. But essentially like our religion's called Zoroastrianism. It's one of the first monotheistic religions that, predates Judaism and Christianity. And I went to a Catholic school from K to 8. So I have a little bit more Catholicism like knowledge through me than like most Catholics in America, right? In terms of like learning scripture and like learning more about like everything there in that religion. So that gave me a really interesting perspective because I was seeing the prescriptive culture of Catholicism. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And being a child and like understanding like we are human a little bit, like of course not to like the level I do now, but just like understanding like we're kind of kids, right? And like not gonna be at that same level of maturity as an adult. Like our religion's faith is basically like do good words, uh say good words, think good thoughts, do good deeds. And that's all you have to do to get into heaven. Don't listen to the law or this or that, but in your good mind and your consciousness, what is right and what is wrong. And it's up to you to be, that individual. So it's definitely an interesting experience when like I went to Catholic school for a lot of my, like you said, that like predominantly white experience in space in a completely different aspect because when I was in sixth grade, I spent a I spent a month in India studying to become a mobed in our religion, which is a Zoroastrian priest. The way it works in
That's
our
cool.
religion, it's yeah, exactly. And I don't get to talk about it a lot, but and it's like it was a lot, but like, and there's been a lot of things that have come from that, but like it's a really interesting and unique experience that I've had that honestly at a young age I was like being pushed and like, oh, you're like doing bad things and knowing you're doing bad things, but I'm just like a kid doing these things. So like really fucked with my mentality for a long time.
Mm.
But I
yeah,
eventually finally figured out and realized because for me, my dad was our head priest in our like Boston area. I was the first priest born in the States in that Boston area. And like we did a lot of community like events and functions, whether it was a first communion type function, like someone entering our faith. I did my sisters and a bunch of our other younger sisters' ceremonies with my dad, and also of like just like housewarmings and like these other different events because my dad was kind of the head priest of the area and like online sometimes people would just like find us online and like request. I jumped into a lot of different things to the point where like actually when I was in high school I did a marriage, right? And it was really interesting to me like getting that experience and just being like still a kid and still like learning and needing to mature. But I realized after all of that, in our faith, one of the big things is and was, it's kind of changing now with time, is that back in the day of ancient Persia, you were whatever your father was as an artisan. That's just like you are whatever your family line is. So the priesthood is usually passed down by family line. So my dad was a priest, his dad was a priest, et cetera, and so on. And there was this requirement for our faith to be of a priestly line to become a priest. So it was also kind of just a given and something like I just like had a unique individual experience that I knew I was just getting from Rip, but like explaining to anyone else that it's completely foreign and unique experience, not only in my religion, talking to the other folks in my religion and friends around me, but then like to a bigger picture. So yeah, that's a little bit more about me, and
Love it.
he definitely learned a little bit there too. So yeah, I'm glad you asked.
Absolutely.
No, that's
Absolutely,
cool.
man.
And so I'm a little bit curious. I have one more follow up question. Does
Okay,
like
go
you
for it.
going back to India to study to be a moped? You said right. Does
Yeah.
that give you right like a greater level of privilege or recognition in the community being back home now?
Yeah, and that's like the weird thing for me because it's like it somewhat feels undeserved, but at a certain point, you like learn to be appreciative of the privilege you've been given. So like that was a challenge for me from sixth grade until literally my last year of college when I was for the first time really thinking about like everything mental and like learning about all of this a little bit more. But yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting it was its own challenge growing up. But yeah, no, it definitely is because I've had that unique perspective of just like studying our faith a lot more, and our faith isn't studied too much. But it's really interesting hearing like when the like experience I had that onboarded me to crypto was going to New York for our Zoroastrian World Congress. Very similar to a crypto event, ironically enough, where it's like a bunch of kids, like some people going to talks and talking about legit ass, like super important stuff. And then like the other people, half of the people hung over, like coming back from just the night out and networking and wanting to meet other folks and just have a good time, which, I was a part of both groups in a lot of different ways. And like, I'm not judging of one side or another. I don't really like, going either way too much, right? And that's that maxi conversation we come back to in blockchain, right? Where it's just like being too strong headed on one side and not being able to change your opinion is just a bad take, period.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Facts.
like, so like that whole experience was me going to this like world congress, and then that was in New York, so that was a bus ride away. My whole family went to that. That was like my first time being around people in our faith that wanted to know more and knew a lot more culturally than me, versus like in Boston it was always like I was like my dad's son and learning all of my scripture and stuff from him. We don't have like a pope or like any central figure. So for me, my dad was a huge part of like that father figure in my life. Again, learning to get out of his shadow, learning what I'm uniquely strengthened at, and sometimes his weaknesses and his own challenges, right? Like he's only a human, even though in our faith, like he was looked on in a very positive light. So it's awesome. Like it just gave me that appreciation finally to like take a step back and be like, wow, like everyone has their own issues with their parents, but like in the grand scheme of things, unconditional love, like super blessed, super grateful. Like that is something that other people don't have. And realizing that in real life was the biggest like mind fuck for me, because like that was normal to me. And learning that not everyone has that honestly is a big part of why I'm here today. Like I met Django and he never had a father figure in his life. And like that like experience really stuck with me because it was just like I realized like how lost I would be without my dad, and just like that whole experience. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation. But I want to definitely bring it back to you. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to. I love the convo, but because it's all part of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could keep going, but I'm complete for the moment,
I
But
mean, I'm good
Love
just
it.
chit chatting. Like that's the beauty of these. Like, whatever you want to talk about, we'll chit chat. B, you have something too. You're welcome to pop in and say anything.
No,
But yeah, dude, I
y'all are
love I love your energy. I'm happy we're working more together and talking more about things and ways we can collaborate more. Because the thing I've been trying to find and leverage is how can we, the people who want to give effort, time, and energy to the creators and the independence of the space while being able to give them their own autonomy, independence, and freedom, but still be able to have that culture come back and karma kind of like kick forward, right? Like we always talk about karma, and like we can see that in like the karmic value of life in the world in the big picture, but in like just straight crypto is not there, right? Like there isn't, just because you do something good, like it's not coming back to you well. In fact, it's probably the opposite, right? Like in terms of like you're looking at like your other well-being, whether you're looking at, personal financial networking, right? So that's like a whole interesting other side of it. But yeah, dude, it's always good chatting with you.
You know, that's
I love it. I love it, bro. No, I think it's real cool just to real quickly just to see like, get exposed to world religions. So shout out to you all because like there's not a whole lot of, simple focus on be a good human. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of like larger religions and a lot of people who have been, I grew up Baptist and it's like the main mission is just be a good human. And the amount of people that can't grasp that concept and are in these religions and you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So
That's why I like saying spirituality, right? Because it's
there you
like
go. Facts.
religion, like even
Fact.
atheists can understand spirituality and what that means, right?
Thousand
And I
percent.
think that's such a more important thing than whatever your beliefs are, right? Like it, like you said, it should just be to be a good human being, and that should transcend all religions, but it doesn't, right? Because of whatever trauma and things we've been pushed on by whatever, right? And it's interesting like concept, and like it's such a like challenging topic because it's like that, religion and politics thing you don't talk at the dinner table thing, even though in the last however many years, I don't know how true that's been,
right.
because how parent has been in my life. But like, honestly, like growing up, high school, even in college, like I was always like so far removed from politics and wanting to like stay away from it for forever. And then crypto friggin' pulled me in and got me to the point of like understanding that like while the whole system and people in it are challenging, and they're like just being a leader and being there, like good leaders step in because they know that without them being there it would be worse. And that's what I've realized for myself. I hate responsibility, I hate liability. I love doing just like whatever for the fun of it, but I've found like different places that I can see my effort being the best effort being there. And I think like realizing that as well is like a whole different thing. But yeah, I see we got crypto noobs in the chat, Candy Boy
We
Box
got
in the chat. Appreciate
everybody
everyone.
chat going crazy, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
your chat's going crazy on some other stuff. I think I can't tell.
That's cool. Crypto Noobs. I met him at Oasis on Chain. It's like a conference in the
Sick.
Bahamas organized by Stefan
Whoa.
Delaveau.
Talk that
Well,
talk,
yeah.
brother.
Tell us how we're gonna do. Let's talk
We
about
going.
Web3 trip with We The Media. Let's start. I actually, so I was just talking to Onaji today about like let's do merch and like do a little more like let's talk about Web3 brand stuff. We've just like done it as like the name of this like whatever. We initially started as an X space, transitioned into a podcast with this live stream, but then it's been like, and it's always been a part of the Zao.
Mhm.
But because I've been building 24/7 on the Zao 30, especially like other projects, it's been like one thing I want to put more effort into, but we just haven't had the energy. But I think like finding one of those monetization like mechanisms in a very small group, like um, just trying out different D apps and tools as a brand so that we can showcase them
Mhm.
is such a good like showing point. So like tools like pods is what really took off in my mind of like we can actually do this with the podcast. I always saw like everyone else doing the whole like ads thing and selling to sponsors and talking about their sponsor within their podcast. And I personally always hated that, even though I totally see why everyone does it. And I get it.
Talk
And
about Mantle. You're not listening to Bankless this season.
exactly. So no, I've never listened to Bankless to be honest with you. Which is another whole wild thing. But like I have very specific like thoughts on. Anyways, I digress. That like always was weird to me. But then like learning more about these tools that we can use in addition to the podcast that
Hmm.
help give the multimedia mode. That's not just like okay, I can't only monetize the 60 minutes that were audio today. Then there's video. Then there's on YouTube after edited. There's clipping it up. And then there's all these other pieces that go into then building a brand. And I think with our knowledge and the DAO aspect of like I like love DAOs. Even though like everyone like that's a scary word for a lot of people in 20, I mean maybe 2 or 3 years ago, not in 2025, but like I love that idea. Like I was a part of PDX down Oregon when I like first got down the rabbit hole. So like those people were very like public goods regen heavy focus. So like learning how a DAO needs to work to be a successful DAO and function was really interesting. So I've been part of a couple failed DAOs and realizing that like the word DAO is just a concept, and that is a part of the challenge with like just hearing a word and automatically assuming a definition,
Hmm.
especially in this space where it's like, especially like we're going back to music on chain, it on-chain music has not gotten like 1% of all three of us understand like it can be a lot 100 times bigger, right? So I think like that, just because someone says something, I mean the word NFT when I joined in 2022 was this scary thing, right? That everyone, every time I was talking about I was interested in the stuff, I had to kind of like be, like the second identity, right? So it's an interesting space. 2025 is so different than 2022 and even 2019 and earlier. So I'm just excited to cook up with y'all. Oh, so I guess coming back to the pods thing, we got like just people checking out our pod, buying it as an NFT just by like being on a platform, and like that was cool to me to see. I need to push a little bit more. I need to get our season one, our whole season one, and then season three, episode one up there. But
Hmm.
I think just finding these other tools, learning more about something like Empire Builder over on Farcaster with Yerber, man, I can't pronounce his name. Yerber Zerker, I think is what it is. Just cool things that people are building to help make. There was someone who said really two really good words. It was like structures that build together symbiotically as opposed to not together. I don't
Hmm.
know. There was a great quote that I'm gonna have to go find at some point and hopefully pin over somewhere. But yeah, like these people who are creating tools and launch pads that aren't for themselves, but they're built for themselves because they see the solution, but then that same solution applies to many more people. And that's what I love about this like dev creator culture. That's what I'm excited to help you guys support. I love the whole Nouns Out Africa thing, seeing you over there as well. So hearing that you did an education thing over there, maybe B. That's
Yes,
that's
sir.
that's next on your list, Chief. You
Facts.
gotta you
You
gotta get
ain't
over
lying.
there and put your work in. Put your time in
I got a
because
lot of homework, man. But yes, absolutely.
we all do, right? So that's the beauty of the space and like finding the dope people around. Like you're saying, we'll bring it right back to what you're saying at the beginning. Grateful for a community, the people that we do have here supporting us in each of our own lanes and then together as a whole. So yeah, I guess that's just a long-winded way of saying excited to kind of like have you on board whatever we build here, and would love to start figuring out ways that we can tap in with some of that like knowledge of your experience of that podcast journey. And I didn't know any of that, to be honest with you. So like that's pretty cool. And we definitely need you back on specifically for something cool like that if you are interested. But nonetheless, I know you're doing amazing, cool things with all of the other communities you're rocking out. So yeah, I don't know, B, how
What
many
the,
if you had a bunch more questions, but
for sure. For
I
sure.
feel like
So
we could keep talking forever. So
what is what's the prep for whatever this next, bull or this next crazy cycle goes crazy? Like what is some of the prep that you're doing with you and your community? I know you had mentioned a while back when I was in one of the calls. I'll be trying to catch the calls, man. I'm bad. But you had mentioned like being a founder of a community and hitting that sweet spot to be like, I'm able to pass the reins, pass the ball to, some of my team. My team is really taking the reins and they're having the confidence to just run with the ball. And I thought that was super dope. That's something that, all founders struggle with. So I think that's really cool. So how are you prepping yourself, we, them, the team, to just go crazy this next bull? Cause it's coming. Let us know.
I feel like I'm in the iteration cycle at this point. What is the ball in the first place, right? Like we the media doing events coverage. Like I don't know. We tried that. I feel like I'm not super confident in it right now. I think there's an immediate need for us to make sure like our media person is one person essentially, right? And historically, I feel like I haven't allocated capital in a way that's left him feeling supported and it's left him feeling stressed and overworked essentially. And so if we want to actually cover events and do it, at a professional level, I think it demands having a bigger team. But we don't have any capital, you know. And so I think that kind of creates one stopgap there. I'm interested in doing educational content. Like, sure, I'm interested in like really bringing more Black Americans on chain. Like a big thing, right, for WeThemMedia is like we want to see Africans and people of African descent become first adopters of blockchain technology. And
1,000%.
right, and for me, that's Black Americans. Like I can talk about the diaspora, but I'm a Black American human being, right? I've been to 2 countries in Africa. There's 54, I think. So it's like clearly I'm not the one representing the diaspora, right?
There you
And
go.
I think it's cool that we're lining up with Downsdale Africa and the opportunity to see partners like that be able to support us, right? Or like partner with us to do things that actually reflect the diaspora is cool. And I'm excited to see what that can look like more long term, right? That we're building out the structures to be able to support media production and pay a team and potentially get budgets from that community to do small things, which work for people on ground, right? To support that without needing to feel like they're doing work for free. And then I think beyond that, right? I am still figuring out like if I want to do educational stuff focused on Black America, what does that look like? I'm very curious to hear about like where Onaje is at in terms of educating people, what the challenges are. We were discussing today, like I went to this entrepreneur summit over the weekend, and it was cool talking to people in real estate, people in laundromats, people in storage units and housing, people that do education as a service, sell courses, people that do marketing, people in taxes, like people and stuff I don't know anything about, honestly. And hearing about like the business acumen they have to navigate or leverage, right, in order to do what they do well. And I got really aware my business acumen is not very big, like it's negligible actually. And so, looking for mentorship in that space and looking at how do I bring this project above board, but also how do I bring it back home to what I'm actually committed to? If I want to make a difference in Black America, what does that look like? If I want to support creators, what does that look like? What is our revenue model? Like all these questions I actually have to ask if it's sustainable and makes sense.
And even having those questions and asking them is the first step. So that awareness is key.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead. You're cool.
So I think like I'm still figuring out what it looks like, but I think right now what I'm thinking about is can we be educating people that have money in America about crypto? And can they look at, my track record and what I've been up to as the reason to trust us in my community as people to, showcase what Black people, African people in the diaspora are doing with this technology. And, like I mentioned earlier, why it makes sense to potentially be DCAing into, the biggest opportunities of our lifetime, potentially. You don't
Bang.
have to go in here and day trade. You don't have to go in here and trade perpetuals. Like, I don't know what that is, but I have a lot of conviction that all these currencies could be hyperinflated very soon, and that we could all be stressed and wondering what should I be holding besides the things that I hold. And just giving people a really deep awareness of the dangers that can come and just navigating a fiat world without knowing what that actually entails, which is what my parents, my grandparents, my great grandparents have been doing. And for most of us, that's just the truth. Unless you know about inflation and, international monetary systems, right? You don't really necessarily understand what it means to hedge against like local inflation with foreign currencies. Even Forex traders, I don't think consider that there's an opportunity to arbitrage against inflation. There's arbitraging against like changing currency values without necessarily considering monetary policy and the things that impact those things. But I think traveling the world and looking at crypto has given me a much deeper understanding than anybody I know, that I interact with on a week-to-week basis, right?
Yep. 1,000%. Nah, crypto noob said you got this, Maceo, for sure. That's what I'm talking about. And I agree. I agree. To answer your question, that's dope to see like the homies over the weekend, like you're cooking and you're killing it, having those business discussions, man. But give yourself some grace. Business is just as vast and as huge as tech is. You know what I'm saying? There's a billion trillion, probably septillion ways to handle and be successful and do business just as a term itself, just like tech. So give yourself some grace. I know you were in the rooms and you were teaching a lot of people just like you teach in this space right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me over the weekend, I was at TwitchCon. So I'm heavily diving into this social media. I mean, this evolution of social media into short form, long form, live content. I'm having a blast and just expanding the network there, bringing the community building side, but also bringing like the tech education, emerging tech education into the live stream side, figuring out how to best bring that while still learning the tools, still learning this even Web 2 tech around just like, OBS and, streaming services and different things like that. So that's been my journey, pretty much like since April on. Of course, the deans at the U, they're always on me. They're like, let's get the ball rolling, get the content rolling, things like that. So, I'm just heavily just hitting it on the content side. Which is really cool because I think that'll be valuable for later on, just like our Twitter Spaces and that content that we still have up on Spotify and all that good stuff is valuable from back in the day. So yeah, man, I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And so I'm hearing that you're not necessarily focused as much on like the education, like infrastructure or structure at the structured level, but more on the content side now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the reason too, I just had an incredible call in July with Ritzy. Shout out to Ola Metaverso, another crew that's basically doing what you, Zal is doing on the Spanish speaking side, and I'm heavily tapped in with them. I had a conversation with her in July. She just dropped that podcast on Monday. Was that last Monday already? The week already
I need
fly
to
by?
catch up on that one. Yeah, it
Golly.
was last Monday.
So she was talking about the content journey and things like that. I was telling her the bridge between me and her and Ola Metaverso was Luis. So shout out to Luis. He's actually over dang, what's the coin that's the S? It's a new
Solana?
no
Ui.
no, dang it, it's a new one. They just changed. They just rebranded. But anyways, there I'll tell you guys later on. But he's the community manager for that, like the whole chain, whole coin type vibe. So he's killing it on that side. But they were building Learn.io, so it was the infrastructure that was
Oh,
built, and I was heavily like we were working on like curriculum and stuff for that platform, and that's kind of why Onaji didn't really go behind the scenes in the tech side to build the infrastructure because we were kind of partnering with them on that side. So, but hey, I mean now's the time, or I mean if we the media is tackling it, we'll partner left and right. So, but it is and I know Z knows with the AI coding and vibe coding, all that good stuff. Like it's easier than ever to get stuff built now, which is crazy. So
I honestly think like we're going to be building like the institutional like learnings in the future,
let's
like
go.
especially with like how to prompt AI. Literally, that part is things that people are going to need help with and support in how to leverage that like data automation layer, all of these other pieces. Like learning that is going to be different. Like that is going to change this education system, right? So I think of it not even on like a formal education system side, because like everyone that's in formal education, whether it be the teachers or the students, are going to also on their side be trying to learn this. So it's like, to me, that's where the classes are going towards, even if like some of them are definitely leveraged and useful in lots of different ways. Like I got my electro engineering degree, and that helps infinitely with now realizing how computers work. I didn't know that a
Exactly.
lot of my knowledge was not common knowledge until I started not hanging out with engineers, and I was like, oh, that's just not something you know. I just know it, like, right. So that side of
Facts.
things is insane. Like, don't get me wrong, but like thinking about the next generation of kids, thinking about people like Candy's kids, um like folks that are have kids, young kids now, that are about to be growing up in this age. What do we want for them? And it's like, if we have these like communities like third places, I think that's the thing we've lost a lot of
Hmm.
pre-COVID, but including COVID, right? Like that was, I mean, people lost their second places in COVID, their workplaces, right? So it made it even more important to have a third place.
Yeah.
And I think that like piece of like it happens to be digital is such a hang up for a lot of people.
Mm.
But once you realize it can extend beyond the digital, it transcends worlds, because you realize that you can make a difference in someone's life halfway across the world on a whim, especially here in the US, realizing like how much of a difference our earning dollar is, or our spending dollar, right? So
Absolutely.
like that part like boggled my mind, because everyone's thinking like AI automation, we're gonna like get rid of all of the people. But I'm like, nah, how do I like, if everyone's outsourcing stuff anyways, well, how do I teach outsourced people how to leverage this tech the best, so that the money that I'm paying them is going the farthest, right? So I think like, and then that person being able to do more and earn more and have more of a capacity to then like expand on that, as opposed to doing one thing and being locked into one thing, especially when people want them to stay their virtual assistant or whatever, right? Like finding that like next level up for other people. So yeah, I'm having a blast. Um, but like, yeah, it's getting close to the end here. So maybe we should uh, uh, uh we'll each ask one more question to Maceo. Little, maybe two questions. If you have a lightning round question, Onaji, I'm gonna ask two, and then you're gonna ask two. Okay. So, what's your favorite NFT? Just like very
Good question.
one of. It doesn't have to be the. Like, what's like a NFT you bought that you appreciate? You're like one of the ones you're gonna show off. Like, let's say you had a metaverse, it'd be in that gallery.
Um, I work pretty closely with Jed EXO. Like Jed, you both know Jed, I'm pretty sure. And I collected his song, maybe Lost or Soul Cry. I think it was Lost. I think it was on my birthday that he minted it too in 2021, right? No, 2022. Like when I finished college, it was that winter, when I was first getting into the space, and I would say it was like an NFT I collected and was excited about. So I would say that's definitely one I would always show off. I feel like he is now, easily one of my closest friends in this space, someone I co-conspire with, someone who I look at like a brother, and I feel like that's just a product of me being in this space, and I admire his music so much, and I think seeing him on his entrepreneur journey now, and just someone who's been in this space and ongoingly been passionate about making a difference. Period. That's my favorite NFT.
I love it. I'm gonna show off something
That's
real
what I'm
quick
talking
here
about.
that you should definitely check out. M3 dot
That's it right there.
XYZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a media player built by Prism, who was in the chat at one point. I don't know if he's still here.
W Prism,
But it
the go.
you log in with your wallet, and it grabs all of your music NFTs. It doesn't have Soul yet, but it has a bunch of EVM chains.
Hmm.
And it's a music player. So um
That's pretty smooth. That's cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna play it right now, but yeah, no, we love Jed. Jed is one of the top members of the ZOW, so shout out to him. He's a goat. I love his energy, and I just love like hearing all of the cool things that have like he's been tapped in with, and I'm like, oh, Jed's here. Oh, Jed's here too. It's just cool, cool. I love people like that. There's
Hmm.
certain people that are good at that online capacity and being multiple communities at once, like well, like an actual contributor. And those people are really interesting to me because that's the like side of being able to manage your time well. That's important and the biggest challenge in the current world today. But I'm gonna say a quick thing. This lost NFT I got because I was buying a bunch of Jaden's NFTs
Mm.
and I got it in a giveaway pack. So that's pretty cool that you said that. Because I forgot where I got that until Prism made this, and I
Mm.
forgot I even had it, and I won it. And that's yeah. So shout out to Jed. Do you have a question, B?
No, I was just gonna say shout out to Jed. He's super heavily active in Nouns Out Africa as well too. Man, yeah, it's cool to see just everybody just you know networking and grinding and very much rising tide raises all boats. So
That was my
heck yeah.
favorite quote
So my,
coming into the
did
space.
you ask two of the lightnings?
No, not yet. I was
Oh,
I
okay,
just was curious
back
if
and
you
forth
wanted, yeah,
ping
if you
pong.
wanted to.
So one of my lightnings, and I love to ask this one over at Undivided Attention as well too. But if you had to pick one, is it blockchain or is it AI? That's my favorite, especially
Oh
the people who know both.
man, that's a good question. I think for me, I use AI every day, but I feel like without blockchain, I would never have started to ask the questions I've been asking about money. And I feel like everything comes down to
Right.
money. So for me, I think it's blockchain all the way because I think blockchain is, in my mind, what makes the idea of money truly being a public good possible for the first time in human history. And I think AI is like going to destroy our labor economy. Maybe not, but the odds are much higher than not. And I think if we don't, we're in
Talk
that
about it.
world, we don't understand money. Labor is abstracted away from us. It's like I don't like. It's like are there then there become two worlds in my mind, right? So for me, I think blockchain is important just because it is in my mind the opportunity to really define a world where value is actually determined by people and not by just a few people.
That's an amazing point. I think I remember back to when there was some tech conversation going around talking about universal currency and things. Universal currency talk came from like the AI side, which is weird because I feel like that should come from the blockchain
Hmm.
side. So it's, yeah, no, I heavily align with that. All right,
Okay,
Z.
I'm gonna go with a
Next lightning
nice
question, my
easy
G.
one. TV or movies? What kind of guy are you?
Hmm. I would say movies. Like my dad's an actor. He's in Screen Actors
Oh,
Guild. Like I think movies are cool. But the thing is, I love anime. I watch so much anime, like an obscene amount of anime.
yeah.
You know? And so I'd say like TV or movies. Like for me, I lean towards movies because I feel like it's easier to digest a movie with people. Whereas
That's
a
true.
TV show, you got to find the niche people who have watched that show as well. But I have to acknowledge, I do have to jump. I have another call at
You're
7.
good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
No, we
I just wanna
appreciate
say
you.
I appreciate you both having me on here. I love being on here. I love to be on this every week. Like, you tell me what I can do to be as involved in this conversation as possible. Like,
Let's
one
go.
thing I
Let's
was
go.
tired of with my podcast was it just being me, right? But there's so much to talk about, and I think a nuanced conversation about more than crypto is so critical, and I think you 2 are doing a fantastic job. So I just wanna say kudos. You let me know anything I can do. I'm here. You want me to tell people about it? I'll tell people about it, like, anything. But, yeah,
Perfect.
appreciate
I
you having
love it. I appreciate you, Maceo. With that, we will
Good to have you,
call
fam.
it. Appreciate everyone for popping